I still remember being at the grocery store, ringing up the mac and cheese, the milk, and the butter, praying that my card would go through because I wasn't sure I had the $10 in my account to cover it. And I
Oh my
remember the
goodness.
times when it didn't. And I
Mm.
had to go, okay, let's get rid of this. And so that was the moment she came up and she goes, Jackie, I feel so seen because she had had that moment as well. And to this day, and this happened 15, 16 years ago, to this day, every time I check out at the grocery store, I say a prayer of thanks to God in my mind
Mm.
that I know I'm here now. I don't have to worry.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 231 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Today I am bringing you Jacki Semerau Tait. You guys, she is so cool. If you've ever had one of those moments where you just think the world is going to end, I know I have. I mean, if you had that moment where you're just like, okay, can't get worse than this. This sucks. Don't ever want anyone to know about this moment right here. Jacki is here to help us understand what those moments mean and how they relate to our own purpose. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, these moments allow us to grow. They enrich our experience of being alive, but they also deepen our ability to help others. And I think this is key, it allows us to be helped as well. Losing her house and her income sources, Jacki Semerau Tait needed to recreate herself. Her $4 story seemed like the lowest of lows, but it became a catalyst needed to launch her into her dream life. She's currently a top producing realtor with a background in marketing and advertising, and she's been using her expertise in real estate and marketing to coach other real estate agents nationwide to succeed in their own careers. And over the course of the last decade, she's coached hundreds of agents to create successful books of business while helping them maintain a healthy work life balance. Yes, please. As a speaker, she talks about mindset, motivation, and marketing, and has shared the stage with Les Brown, Pedro Addo, Magic Johnson, and more. I would have loved to see her on the stage with Magic Johnson. I bet that was fun. Jacki's life mission is to help people overcome their biggest struggles, stop self sabotaging, and start living on purpose, in purpose. And you guys, as you're listening to today's episode, if you have this thought, I've never had a moment like that. I don't know what that feels like. What I would encourage you to think about is whether or not you're actually still healing from something that may have happened. And remember, these moments where we have to really ask for help, or we have to really look in the mirror and say, wow, am I self sabotaging? Did I cause this to happen? Or what strengths do I need to help myself get out of this? That's a moment. That's a moment where you can start to find your own purpose and start to build strength from it. I love the way Jacki describes that. So pop in your earphones and let's get to it. Jacki, I am so looking forward to our conversation about purpose and entrepreneurship today. Welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm looking forward to it as well.
We are about to break some stuff down, but you have like this unbelievable story about purpose and entrepreneurship. And I think it's, it's so cool when an entrepreneur gets a story like this that is just gorgeous and it really illustrates what you feel is your purpose. But I'm still going to ask you, out of all the things that you could be doing on planet Earth right now, why is this what you're doing?
Sarah, I have to say the why to why I share this story is what I'm actually going to start with,
Love it.
because I feel like now more than ever, people need to see the authentic journey that people go through to get to success. There's no such thing as an overnight success. You just wake up one morning and this person's in your awareness, but you don't see the 20 years of blood, sweat, tears, heartache, depression, snot dripping down your nose, crying moments. You don't see those things. And I think right now I'm really trying to reach out and encourage other people, especially because we're going through tough times and economically, and things are shifting and changing. And my story happened the last time things were rough economically. So I really feel like it's my time to share this story to hopefully encourage somebody else to look forward and see themselves in the future, to say, okay, how is it that what I'm going through right now is going to lend to my story in the future? So that's why.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think we don't talk about that enough.
I
I really
agree.
don't, and as a podcast host, I always try not to say, "Oh my God, I love that," but I really love that.
No.
Because I think it's just missing. I don't think
Mhm.
we talk about the down. I love that you're like, we do the ugly cry with the snot and the things and all the stuff. And we don't talk about it because we're supposed to be insta ready all the time. And I think that is such a disservice. I call it entrepreneur porn, right? But it's such a disservice to people that everybody's like, "I'll make $1 million with a ball of twine on the beach." Right? It's like, no, you don't. You really don't. Like, there's so much work that goes into that. And it's great. You figured out like what vein to tap with your messaging, but there's a lot that went into that. So I love that you're telling the truth about all of the different steps it takes to actually become as successful as you'd like to be. What do you think? Guys, she did not know I was going to ask her this question.
Uh-oh.
So Jacki, so it just came to me, but like, what do you think is the biggest reason people don't connect the moments that are tough
Mm.
with their journey?
I have two thoughts on that. The first thought is because society, advertising, the messaging that's out there for us today is that we should be safe, we should be secure, life should be easy. We shouldn't have to struggle.
Hmm.
Struggle shouldn't be a part of the equation. So there's that messaging that's out there. So we think that when we go through the struggle, we're doing it wrong. We're
Hmm.
doing something wrong. There's something wrong with me. I must not deserve it. We get all that garbage in our head that brings us to that moment of going, well, I might as well just give up and go back to whatever it is that I was doing before
Hmm.
I tried. And so I think that does such a disservice. It's part of my why. Like, no, 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 no. You don't understand. Everybody struggles. And without the struggle, you can't enjoy the success. Without sadness, you don't know what happiness feels like.
Hmm.
So if you are on just some straight trajectory and you never know what it feels like to be on the bottom, you're really not going to appreciate it, and it can drive you to that level of success. So first, I think it's society and messaging. But the other reason I feel like people don't put that into effect is because when you're in the middle of it, you're
Hmm.
lost. It's that old saying where you can't see the forest for the trees. You're in the middle of it, and it's so hard to look out because you feel like you're never going to step into that success. Every day I'm trying. I always laugh. My daughters and I have a thing with that movie What About Bob, where he's
Yes.
like, I'm doing the work, gimme, I need. Like, we are so lost in that moment that,
Hmm.
that's part of why I'm sharing my journey too, because I want you to look above this moment. I want
Hmm.
you to pick your head up and go, oh, I know I can get there.
Oh, I love that. It is that moment though, right? Of like, but it's almost like sometimes I feel like I always have this running joke. Like I drive by Starbucks and I'm like, should I just go work in there? Like I have that because it's, we all have these moments. It's so hard. And I'm clearly living my life's purpose. I love my job so much. And it
Mhm.
never ends, right? There's always a next. There's always more
Yep.
for us to do. There's more people for us to reach. There's more ways to give out the message. There's more ways to share from the heart. And it's like some days I just want to go and be like, do you want whipped cream on top of that? Or right? Like, oh my God. So I love
Yeah.
what you're saying about like the truth of that, but also reaching back and sharing that with other people and the richness of that decision to allow the I love that. What did you call it? The underneath? No, you didn't call it that. What did you call it? Like underneath, you said we live up top and we have all the things that we've succeeded in, but then there's something underneath.
Oh, just
And
when you
sometimes,
dip down into the rock bottom,
yes, so much richness there, right?
there is. If you learn how to see it for what it is in that moment. I've never even shared this before, but here you go.
That happens on
I
here sometimes. I like it.
Well, when I first, so we'll get into all of the nitty gritty of what happened, but I lost my house. It was going into foreclosure, so I had to short sell it to avoid the foreclosure. And in the moment, I still can remember I'm packing up my house.
Hmm.
This was 2009, and I had a little point and shoot video cameras before we had cameras on all our phones and whatnot. But I had a little point and shoot video camera, and I went through my house as the movers were coming through and taking things out. And I went, this is the bottom. I didn't know it got worse, but I thought this is the bottom right here. And I took a video of that because in my mind, I said, I'm going to share this video with people someday when I'm back up on top. So to be able to see it in that moment. Now, had I known what was coming down the pike in the next couple of years, I don't know if I would have thought that was the bottom. I would have been like, this is nothing.
Like, I got this. We
This
got
is
this
fine.
handled. Yeah.
I still had the money to hire movers at that time.
Right. My gosh. God, 2009 was tough, huh?
It really was. Yeah. And
Yes.
I'm in real estate. So that's what I do for a career, is in real estate. So my career is very heavily tied to what goes on in our economy.
Mhm.
And if any of you remember that point in time with real estate and the Great Recession, it
Yep.
was really, really rough.
It was no joke. My ex-husband owns a mortgage company. So obviously
Okay.
same industry, right? And I had to tell him I was pregnant. I will never forget that. I was like, well, surprise.
Oh,
It was like one of those moments where like, I'm going to remember this. And we were all laughing just the other day about it. I was like, do you remember when I had to call you? And he was like, yeah, I remember. Cause it's like the world changed and then our lives keep going, even in the midst of all that madness. And of course, we're so happy and lovely. We have this beautiful child now, right? But it's like in that moment, you're like, how is this going to work out?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
oh my God, like, are we going to be all right here? Like, what's happening? Yeah, it's such an interesting experience as humans, isn't it, that we get to
It,
go through?
it is. I
Yeah.
agree.
And so as you share your experience with other people,
Mhm.
what do you think helps them the most? What do you think is the most helpful when we share the truth about these moments and we really experience our own purpose inside of that, but that we share it? What do you think happens for other people when we do that?
I think the best way to answer that is to tell you what one woman told me when I was sharing my story from stage. And afterwards, she came up to me and she said, Jacki, I felt so seen. And I think, boom, that's what happens when we share our stories and we can relate that to, somebody who's listening to that story. They're going to pick and choose what parts of your story they truly relate to. And for this woman in particular, I will tell you that when I was at the bottom economically, I used to try and make it a game for my kids that we were going to have macaroni and cheese because mom's the cool mom who gives you macaroni and cheese. The truth was, I could feed my kids macaroni and cheese for a week on like $10
Yep.
because I would get the economy pack of macaroni and cheese, the gallon of milk, and the butter. And from there, I could make the macaroni and cheese. And every once in a while, if I had like some chicken or some peas, and I stir it in there and we'd change it up. But I tried to make that fun for my kids. But the truth was, because that's all I could afford. And I still remember being at the grocery store, ringing up the mac and cheese, the milk, and the butter, praying that my card would go through because I wasn't sure I had the $10 in my account to cover it. And I
Oh my
remember the
goodness.
times when it didn't. And I
Mm.
had to go, okay, let's get rid of this. And so that was the moment she came up and she goes, Jacki, I feel so seen, because she had had that moment as well. And to this day, and this happened 15, 16 years ago, to this day, every time I check out at the grocery store, I say a prayer of thanks to God in my mind
Mm.
that I know I'm here now. I don't have to worry about if this card's going to get accepted. But it brings me back like every time at the grocery store. So
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so important we do share our stories, and not just, oh, I want to share my sad story and let's get bogged down in, oh, poor me, I was a victim, it was so sad. That's not the point. The point is, no, I went through this, and through the whole thing, I kept looking, how do I get out of this? How do I overcome this? Where do I go from here?
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage other people to do the same thing. Like, don't be a victim. Know you're going to overcome this moment.
Yeah. It's the idea there's always a next. There's
Yes.
always a next. And that is really hard to remember when you're like, please, dear God, let it go through. Please let it go through. Please let it go through. And I was raised going through that, right? Really with my own
Mm.
mother of just this constant, like, are we going to have food, or what are we doing? You know, that, I mean,
Right.
it's a real thing that so many people experience. And
Yeah.
again, we don't talk about it. What do you think happened for you? Was it a mindset shift? Did it
Mm.
take a long time for you to move out of that space financially? Like, what happened for you? What was your next after
Mm.
those moments?
Well, so going through all of that, being down, couldn't, hard to feed the kids,
Mhm.
couldn't pay the mortgage anymore. I still remember coming to the choice where the mortgage bill was due. The first time I had to say, I don't have it. I
Mm.
can't pay this. And having to make the choice of, okay, do I keep the lights on and the water running, or do I pay for the roof over our head? And I was like, okay, I'm not going to pay for the mortgage this time so that we can keep living here. And just always thinking like, no, I'll be able to catch up next month. I'll be able to catch up. I'll
Yes.
be able to catch up.
Yeah.
And then never having that experience. And then the moment where I had to say, all right, I give up. My house is in foreclosure. I have to short sell it and move on. And I had to pack up my stuff, my kids, and my pride and move back in with my parents.
Mm.
And I had the thought, again, with my little video camera, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be fine. In a few short months, I'll be back on my feet. Took
Mm.
2.5 years. Two and
Wow.
a half years of living with my parents. And the $4 story that I share in my book, Ignite the Hunger in You, the $4 story happened in the midst of living with my parents. So, like I said, it got worse, didn't get better. And my parents were so gracious to be able to, like, listen, the girls, you live here. You don't need to worry about paying rent.
Yeah.
We will feed you. We will put the roof over your head. You work on getting back up on your feet. So I was really blessed to have that
Oh,
support.
yeah. You're so lucky. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge source of support.
It is a huge source of support. And that's actually one of the 7 principles I share in my $7 or my $4 story is that you have to look for the helpers. You can't do it
Mm.
all by yourself. And truly, our weaknesses are ingrained within us to help other people's strengths shine. Our weaknesses are ingrained within us to allow other people's strengths to shine.
Mm.
We're not meant to do this world alone. Everything is symbiotic. And where you, Sarah, may have a strength that I really suffer in, I might have a strength where you suffer in. So
Mhm.
if we come alongside each other, we can lift each other up and help us be our best selves and live our higher purpose. So don't get down on yourself about your weaknesses and things like that. And that's where you have to look for those helpers who are willing to come alongside of you in your down moments.
So good. It's so good. None of us can do this life thing alone. Yeah.
No, we
No, it's not
can't. We
possible.
think we can. That's the other thing. Like, society tells us you can do everything. You can be everything. You can have it all. Well, you can have it all, but not all by yourself.
I like that. I like that. Because most of the time we say just not all at once, but I actually kind of like it better, like not all by yourself. I think that's correct. What inspired you, Jackie? So you're going through all these things. It's taken you 2.5 years to get back on your feet. Where did you find the courage and or the inspiration to actually start talking about this?
Well, that's interesting because it took a lot of hard work to get there. So I will just tell you that in the midst of all of that, I had never even heard of Les Brown. I don't know if you've heard of Les
Yeah.
Brown, one of the best motivational speakers, but at that time I hadn't heard of him.
Mm.
And one of the companies that I was with had a convention, and my dear friend Karen went to the convention, and Les Brown spoke at that convention. I couldn't afford to go. So she bought his CD set and she said, listen, this is mine, but I'm going to let you borrow it. And it was a 6 CD. I still laugh. It's 6 CDs. And in my car, I had a 6 CD changer.
Of
So I had
course.
all of them in there. And
Mm.
it was his Choosing Your Future. So if you've not heard it, you can buy it on Audible. I go download it, listen to it. But I just had that on loop.
Mm.
And his messaging changed the trajectory of my life, changed my thought process, got me outside of myself. Because let's face it, even though I say don't get all wallowed down in it, it was hard not to. When you're in the middle of it, it's really hard not to. So you need a
Yeah.
little encouragement. So Les Brown shares his story. Fast forward. Now I'm on top. I'm living my dream life. I truly, truly am. I have everything I need. God has blessed me. I'm so excited. And then I had the opportunity in 2021 to be personally mentored by Les Brown, which,
Holy cannoli. I
yes,
just
for
got chills.
me,
Wow.
oh, it was like, oh, this is the moment. So I actually got to know him. I co-wrote a book with him. So it's Ignite the Hunger in You. I co-wrote that with Les Brown. And that was what inspired me to reach back in and share the story. Because I realized if Les hadn't shared his stories, I wouldn't have had those in that moment. So now it's my job to share my story. And hopefully that reaches in, even if just one person. Like
Yeah.
I figure I'll put it out to the world, and whoever needs to hear it, we were talking about this before we started recording, whoever needs to hear that message will.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And I mean, I know there's the starfish story that all of us coaches tell, like, the idea that when there's a big wave and all the starfish are dying on the beach, you can pick up one and throw it back in and make a difference for that one, and pick up another one and throw it back in. And you might not get all of them, but it makes a difference for each one that gets tossed back in.
For that
And I
one.
love that story. And it sounds like that's really what your experience with Les Brown was like, right? Like you were one of the starfish he threw back in the ocean, and then you were able to move forward and share that as well. I had a feeling there was a story there. I'm so glad I asked, because it takes something to share your stuff.
It
Right. I mean,
it
I
does.
have a grocery store story, right? That was sort of my founding story. It created my identity and helped me understand, how I was viewing the world.
Mm,
And it took a long time for me to share that.
yeah.
A long time before I was like, by the way, I was raised so poor. Right? Like, it's like you don't always want to raise your hand and be like, by the way. And I think
Mm.
it's also important. And I think this is another thing that I'm hearing in the way that you're sharing this, Jackie, is that those of us that love to speak on stages and really get out there, is you don't share from a wound, you share from a scar. And that it's
Yes.
really important we heal things. And as
Yes.
speakers, we got to be responsible, right? Because you can activate other people. If you haven't healed, you can end up triggering people as opposed to inspiring people. And I think what I'm hearing is you really took that time to move through that, and to have somebody like Les Brown by your side while you did that. I can get how you were able to really heal that and then share it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said that so well. You do that. In fact, that's something Les used to teach in his mentorship,
Oh, I didn't know
is to say almost exactly that about the scar in the womb,
that.
because you can't get up there. He used to say, listen, if you're going to get up on a stage, this is not your own personal therapy session.
That's right.
If you're going to get up on the stage, you have to have the answers for the problems that you're sharing. And I really love that. And so I would share too with your audience that if you're scarred, so you've healed, it's time. Get out there,
Ooh, I love that.
share what you have. But if you still have that open wound, it's okay. Keep learning the lessons, take journal notes, take videos of yourself that you don't share just yet, and know that when this wound scars over, then it's time to share your story.
So good. So good. Oh my God, Jackie, this has just been an incredible conversation. I believe you have a free gift for our girlfriends. Do I have that right?
I do. If you go to $4story.com, there's a free audio download, and it is literally me just being real and raw. I share what I call my $4 story. And then I give you the 7 principles that I learned during that time that you can apply to your life to really, truly bring you into your higher purpose.
I love it. Jackie, thank you. That's a very generous gift. You guys, if you're watching on YouTube, we will have that link underneath this video. If you're listening in, it will be in the show notes. Jackie, if people are like, holy cannoli, get me some more of this lady, where can people find you?
The best place to go is to stepstostrength.com. And then you're going to find links to all my things.
Love it. I love it. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for really being vulnerable with the world, for sharing your story, and for talking to all of the girlfriends today, and sharing with us what we can do to move forward as we conquer life on a day-to-day basis too.
Sarah, it's my pleasure. And thank you for what you're doing by bringing these stories to the world. You're doing a great job.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you so much.